Tanya Ross of TDR Academy of Movement and Therapy, and today's stretch session is going to be a little bit more active. We are going to have some holds within it, active holds, but for most part we're going to be moving. So active range of movement, working on that so that hopefully it just leaves you feeling a lot more open around the chest, around the hips, and generally just feeling a little bit more uplifted through it as well. But not so much that you can do this later at night and still be ready for bed after. So hopefully it feels good, but we're going to start in. So we'll get you ready and into position. So bring yourself into child's pose. So we're going to set you up with those knees just at a comfortable distance apart, maybe around about hip distance apart. And draw yourself in, reaching nice and long with the arms, bringing into full stretch, creating space for the ribs in there, relaxing the body down, melting it down, just taking a couple of deep breaths there. Let the breath go. Finding your extra space underneath the arms and in the sides as you can. And then allowing that sense of release and relaxation, letting the elbows melt into the floor, the head to melt into the floor. And then allow one more deep breath. Imagine that as you breathe in, you're going to fill the body with an energy, and as you breathe out, you create that little bit of space. Start to reach the arms long, creeping all the way through to the fingertips and rising right up onto the fingers. So tenting through those fingers, allowing the ribs maybe to sink a little bit more to help the shoulders relax a little bit more. And then flatten the hands, bring the hands into a wide position, reaching the arms diagonally long away from your center. And then slowly drawing the arms back in. In breath, and as you breathe out, round the spine, coming forwards into all fours. And you're going to adjust and maneuver a little bit as you need to set that up. Draw those shoulders into a few circles, shrugging them up and rolling them back. And then allowing them to settle down the side seams of the body. And then start to bring in your pelvic tilt. But try to keep the upper body still, so you're just focusing it into the tail. So you're curling the tail under, you're lifting the tail high. Curling it under, lifting it high. So just so that you get that feeling of each segment in its own right. And then allow that area to find its way into the middle, essentially. And then allow the ribs to move. So you're not trying to move through the shoulder blades, you're not trying to move through the tail. You're just pulling up, almost kind of sucking the ribs up and then letting them relax back down. Pulling the ribs up and then letting them relax back down. And each individual segment that we've moved, the shoulders, the tail, and then into the ribs, we're going to put them all together to build into your sad and your happy cat, so your cat-cow. So using everything, that pull up of the ribs, the curl down of the tailbone, the press with the arms, and then lifting the tail, sinking the ribs, and the squeeze of the shoulder blades together. And begin slowly through each, just drifting from one to the other. And then start to bring it into your disco cat. So drawing your circle with your tail, making it as big as you feel that you want to, just rolling everything through. And then changing direction, drawing that circle the other way. And then finding your way back into your midpoint. So from there, just drawing those little circles around the wrists. In essence, just mobilizing the wrists. Take about 3 or 4 one way, and then the other. Okay, and once you've evened it up on both sides, draw the toes in underneath, and we're going to sink it back. So as you sink it back, I want you to give the mat a little push. So you're pressing down and forwards into the mat, so it's pushing your weight backwards to stretch out through the soles of the feet, to fold you deeper at the hips. So the mission on this isn't to drop the head to the floor. You're trying to fold deeper at the hips. And then slowly rising up from there. And we're going to take it from there into like a bent leg down dog. So just lifting, trying to press that mat again forwards and away as you lift in through the hips. And imagine that you're sinking the heels to the floor on this. Like, you may not get them anywhere near it with bent knees. And then slowly transition back into your box again. Taking that round back in your cat, and then that arch back in the cat. And then find your mid position, and again, rock it into that down dog. So lifting the hips, folding deep at the hips, opening up at the shoulders, pressing those heels to the floor. And then again, coming back into box. We're going to do one more. So round the back into that sad cat, that happy cat arch. Neutral position, that midpoint. Send the spine long as you push the floor away. Pull those shoulders into the sockets as you lift the hips up nice and high. But with the knees bent, so you've got that deeper fold. And then slowly draw it back down. So we're going to just take you forwards a little to lie down. And just rest the head onto the hands. We're going to bend the legs up so that the knees are 90 degrees. The heels flat to the ceiling. And just take that little rock of the heels side to side. And then slowly evening it up into center. And we're going to bring the hands just around. So we're going to take just that early swan or cobra. So roll the shoulders behind, actively pulling those elbows down beside you, and then lifting with your back muscles. Legs are lengthened and slowly back down. So again, roll the shoulders in behind. You're pulling those elbows towards the feet. And then we're going to take one more through there. Roll the shoulders, lengthen the legs and lift. And back down. So when you're ready, in breath, as you breathe out, push the floor away. Send it back into your child's pose again. But allow the knees, just adjust them to go maybe about the width of your mat this time if you can. So that you're folding a little bit deeper, maybe bringing the thumbs together so they can touch. So the arms are reaching long. And again, that little bit of a side movement. Sometimes just extra little movements can just add a wee bit into it. Just to mobilize through the shoulders, the hips, the thighs. And then centering, bringing the hands in a little and drawing it up onto all fours again. So from there, we're going to bring you into your couch stretch. So draw the right leg through. If you need a pillow underneath the knee, then you can bring it underneath there if you need extra cushioning. So 90-90, so 90 in the front leg and on the back leg, the core drawn in, tailbone nice and long, and then starting to open up. So you're bringing that stretch high up on the front of that hip, but actively long through the shoulders. So the core essentially is what's kind of stopping you from just collapsing into this. So it's working, so you should feel your glute working on that back leg. Okay. And then slowly from there, allow the core just to relax enough that you can take the hands to the floor. So you're in a lunge. Doesn't matter that the knee's over at the moment because we're not really loading it too much. So trying to get that lengthening. And then slowly from there, draw the leg in behind. So tail wag, each side. Just moving the tails, keeping the upper body nice and still as you move the pelvis one way and then the other. Just up the side seams. Okay. And then start to bring the shoulders into it. So you're trying to do a full side bend. The eyes can still focus on a point somewhere in between the two hands, so it's not moving too wildly. And again, maybe about 4 or 5 each side, and then find your way into center. And then scoop the left leg up. Again, pull under the knee if you need it. Once we're up there, drop the tailbone down, nice and tall through the spine, and then coming forward as you need to get that stretch again at the top of the hip. So you're actively holding, actively pressing into it. Breathing steady. And then we're going to start to deepen that, so taking it forwards. Again, you can bring the hands to the floor, letting the hips open, and just finding that lengthen through your back as you send that lunge that little bit deeper. Okay, and then slowly drift that leg in behind. So from there, then we're going to draw it forward, so you're controlling the body to lie down again. Roll the shoulders in behind, lengthen those legs long and straight. Again, use the back muscles to lift, but this time if you want to add in a little push with those hands and pull those shoulders back. Remember, every time we do this, it's a push down and a pull back. So even though I'm saying push the floor, always pull everything back as well, so you're pulling the chest forwards. And then slowly back down. In breath. As you breathe out, draw the tummy in, press it back. This time bring the knees together and fold it back into your child's pose. So with this one, it's going to round the back out a little bit more. And you can still keep the thumbs close together. Maybe even you want to bring them, the hands almost one on top of the other. So that again, it just opens up a little bit more into the shoulders. Taking one more breath. And then draw the hands back a little, slowly rising up again. So we're going to bring it into that bent leg down dog again. So draw the toes under, pressing the floor forwards and away, lifting the hips. And this time then, play about with it a little bit. Maybe take the feet to the width of your mat. And again, can you fold a little bit deeper? And then bring your feet together. And again, fold a little bit deeper. Bring them back about feet hip distance apart. And fold a bit deeper. And then bring the knees to the floor. And then from there, we're going to take a twist. So we're going to stay in your box position, okay? So one hand is pressing into the floor, the other arm is opening. Now the arm isn't trying to yank the spine through. The push of the hand into the floor is trying to help you twist at the ribs. And then back down, other side. So push in, take a twist, and back down. And again, other side. We're going to take 3 to each side. It might feel like you don't get very far with this, but that's okay. Okay, and as we come back in again, so we're going to take you back into that bent leg down dog. So pressing it up. And this time you can pick where you wanted your feet. You want them wide, narrow, hip distance, somewhere in between. And then we're just going to use that little pedaling motion, trying to sink one heel and then the other. Just getting that stretch up through the calves, maybe in through the back of the leg. If your back is lengthened in this position rather than rounded and scooped under, you'll get the stretch in the hamstrings. And after a few each way, maybe try last one, try sinking both of them to get that stretch in through both. And then again, slowly bring it back to the floor. So this time as we sink you into like your child's pose, I want you to place your left elbow in front of the left knee. You're going to place the right hand in behind the head. And we're going to open the twist again and back down. And again, open the twist and back down. Taking 3 more on that side. So really trying to get that sense of the connection, the lengthening through the arm and the floor and the elbow above you. And then trying to get that rib twist. So once you've taken 5 on one side, then align the other elbow in line with the knee. And again, hand in behind the head, opening and down. Maybe noticing if one side feels easier or freer than the other. And once you've done 5 movements there, then we're going to bring you, again, coming forwards. And this time as we come forwards to lie down, we're going to bring you onto your side. So you can just come into whatever position feels comfortable. We're just going to come into a quad stretch on the front of that leg. So you can support with pillows or whatever you need. Tummy muscles drawn in to keep the back flat as you draw the foot up behind you. And you're trying to keep everything engaged. So you're pulling up inside to be active on this. And as you're holding in through that position, imagine that you're lengthening your posture, you're lengthening that knee, maybe even pressing it down. So actively pressing the knee to the floor and then release. And then press the knee to the floor and then release. And again, do 5 little presses. And after that 5th press, draw the knee up, just give it a hug in towards you. Lengthen the legs out, coming onto your elbows. So we're going to take it into Sphinx. And once you're there again, remember when you're pushing into the floor, you're also pulling back. Those 2 movements always pretty much going together. Reaching your chest forwards and upwards to the corner of the ceiling above you. So you're trying to pull everything nice and long. The bend should be happening in around that lower shoulder blade area rather than just dropping into the low back. So the lower tummy muscles are pulling up, shoulder blades are pulling down, so feeling that squeeze of them down that side seam. And then slowly changing, coming onto your other side. So again, as you draw it onto your other side, still thinking about keeping that long spine, whatever that bottom leg and bottom arm wants to do to keep you comfy. And then drawing the leg up and in. So again, tight, flattening through the back. And once you flatten through the back, I want you to keep that notion of pressing the knee down for 5. So again, pressing it down, just to make the stretch that little bit more active. So 5 little presses. Okay, and once you've done 5, we're coming back in Sphinx again. Okay, so once we come over, you're pushing down with those elbows again, pulling back. Wherever your hands are, you're going to be pushing them into the floor. So it's going to rise you up a little bit more. But what I want you to think about doing is your prominent ribs. I want you to imagine that as you try to take those hands, you might need to adjust them forward a little bit. As you take them into a straight arm position, can you move your ribs as if you're trying to pull your ribs forward on the mat underneath you? So it's a little bit more again of a stretch coming into that lower shoulder blade area, the lower ribs, as opposed to into the back. The back is just trying to lengthen. That pull of the hands pulling backwards as they push the floor is trying to almost traction your own spine. And then back down again. Maybe take the hands out a little bit further in front this time. Okay. So again, the same idea, you're going to be pressing down and pulling backwards. So you're lifting with the back muscles, you're pushing down with the arms, you're pulling backwards. So again, you're trying to get those prominent ribs towards the floor as you pull the chest further forwards. So you actively open up through the back. And then relax. Bring the hands underneath the head. Again, that bending of the knees, and then that little rock side to side. Okay. So from there, bring the hands underneath the shoulders and press it back again, coming into that round back. You can choose how wide or narrow you want your knees, depending on what out of any of those positions we've done so far felt better for your back, for your sides, for the hips. Take a deep in breath. And as you breathe out, press the knees into the floor, rise the body up, find that long back position. So we're going to bring you up, drawing the toes under. We're going to walk the feet forwards, and you're going to find your way into a halfway position. So the arms can push into the legs, whatever part that you need them to be in, to find your back towards the horizontal. and you're actively lengthening your posture. So your shoulders are pulling down the back, your head and your tail are lengthening away from each other. Press the heels into the floor, active back muscles to lift you into standing, and that drop under of the pelvis. Take the arms up, that full stretch. In the same way as we were lifting those ribs and opening up that part of the back when we're lying on our tummies, same idea, lift the ribs forwards and upwards, but keep that sense of tummy engagement. And then bring the arms back down. Clasp the hands in behind, reach them down long, trying to press them in behind. Okay, and then release again. Take the arms all the way up. Again, that full stretch and open. And this time as you bring the arms back down, whatever way you clasped, can you clasp them the other way this time? And reach it down and behind again. And then release. So just give the arms a little bit of a shake. Okay, a little bit of a rattle. So bring yourself a little bit further forward on your mat. So we're going to take it through sun salutation. We are going to go through sun salutation C, okay, using it as that purpose of the stretch, linking it with the positions that you've been through so far. So reaching up, full stretch, opening up through the ribs, pull the ribs in, bend the knees a little and send it down through that long back. All the way to the floor, lifting the hips. Come up to that halfway position again, so you're active and through the back. And as you breathe out, slowly taking it back down to the floor. So we're going to bring the right leg in behind and then take the knee to the floor. So you're in that deeper lunge position that we got into. Push that front foot into the floor, rise it up if you can. Okay, knees under pillows as needed. And you're actively kind of pulling into that position. So your muscles, you're not just kind of collapsing and sinking into it, you're pulling in and you're pressing the hips forwards. So with the hands, can you clasp the hands again? Reach them in behind and that little press backwards if you can. Still pulling forwards through the legs. And then replace the hands, take the leg in behind. So you can choose if you want to go from box or 3/4, or maybe you want to go into that full position for lowering to the floor. Roll the shoulders in behind. You can choose how high up you come in terms of your cobra. Rolling those shoulders in behind again, that push and pull on the floor. Pressing the hips back, take a child's pose. Big deep in breath there. And then as you breathe out, round the spine, coming forwards through your cat. Find lengthen through your back, tuck those toes underneath, send it into that bent leg down dog. You choose the width of your feet. And we're going to bring that right leg forward. So as you bring that right leg forwards, again, take the back knee to the floor. Toes can flatten underneath you and then rise it up. So again, you're actively pulling into that position, sending the hips forwards. And then from there, can you again take the hands behind? Can you clasp them the other way? Reach it down, reach them behind. And then slowly bringing the hands back to the floor. Tuck the toes underneath, that little hop. Taking it into halfway, again, finding that lengthen through your back. And then folding deep at the hips. And as you fold deep at the hips, just that little sway of the hips side to side. Sometimes just that little bit of rotation might tweak a wee bit of a stretch somewhere that feels good to move through.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And then find your way into mid position. We're going to roll the spine up unless you need to come up through a squat position. Allow that press of the feet into the floor, that curling of the tailbone, that lifting of the front of the body, reaching it up, taking the arms all the way up and opening up through the ribs again. And then bringing the arms down, kind of resetting the posture as you come out from there. So we're going to bring it into just a very relaxed swing after that. So just allowing that rocking motion. The arms are just kind of swinging because you're turning the torso, and they're wrapping around the waist, wrapping around the back, let the legs lift and pivot through the leg that's behind you, so it's not tweaking the knees. And again, just reaching the posture tall, and then relax it out. Okay, so we're going to bring it down to the floor. Okay, so we'll take it down in through that stretch again, but we're going to slow it down. That's your big sun salutation that we've worked through. So we're going to slowly bring you down, sending it down into that stretch. Taking the legs in behind, and we're going to bring you into a side sitting position. Okay. So we're going to bring it in through actively trying to get all the way down through the sides, and I do think one of the best stretches for this is mermaid. Okay, so we're going to take you open into the side, reaching it over, so whatever the front foot is, your hand is coming down on that side. Then you're going to take it up and over, so take that initial stretch. So this shoulder will want to hug up into your ear, so push it down and squeeze that shoulder blade down the side seam, so it's pushing your back hip towards the floor as that top arm is reaching up and over. Okay, so bring it up and through, posture's lifting you, and up and over. So we're then going to bring it into our airplane. So that's just opened up the position to start with. So we're cutting across yourself, so as far as you can take it into that twist, and then opening up to the ceiling. Maybe even palm up if that helps you encourage that little bit of rotation in the upper arm. Palm down as it comes to the floor, and then palm up as it comes to the ceiling. As you come to the floor, you're pushing the floor forwards and away from you, so you're almost scooping in and rounding the back. And we're going to pause there for 3 breaths. In breath, opening up the space. Out breath, helping you to round and draw a little bit deeper into the stretch by pressing into that round back. And then slowly allowing the hands to place around about shoulder width apart. Now in that position, I want you to turn the fingers inwards, maybe around about 45 degrees or so. So when we're going down, the spine is longer, elbows are pulling wide. When we come up from the floor, you're rounding the spine, so you're pulling in through the belly button, your elbows are staying wide as you push the floor away. And then again, lowering, lengthening the back, and then scooping in and rounding. And again, lengthening, and then scooping in and rounding. And then find the length, angle the fingers pointing forwards, take that open airplane position, and then we'll take it into that counter stretch. So reaching across, lengthening up through that side, and back down. Can we lift and change the legs into your other mermaid? Okay. Right, falling off blocks if you're on them. So once we're in the position again, so we're going to take first of all that stretch. So as we take it up and over, again that shoulder wants to hug in, pull it down, press it down so that back hip grounds, reaching tall with that top arm. Reach, reach, reach. And then slowly coming through, counter stretch, lifting up and lengthening. And then find your way back into your airplane position. So we're open and then you're crossing the body line. So as we reach it through, palm down, as we go up to the ceiling, palm up, external rotation. Internal rotation as we palm down, we bring it into the twist, scooping in through the tummy, opening and lengthening through the spine, palm up. And again, as we take it in this one, we're going to hold however far across you can get, scooping in through the tummy so it rounds the back, it lengthens through that reaching arm, through the shoulder. And then release, bring the hands around about that shoulder width apart, and then turning the fingers, just turning them in a little, finding that length through the back, and then lowering to the floor, elbows pulling wide apart. And then scoop in through the tummy as you press the arms along, but you're still trying to pull your own elbows wide apart. Lengthening as you lower, and again pressing the floor away as your elbows pull wide to get that stretch down the sides and the shoulder. One last one, lengthen, and then scoop in and find that rounding. Lengthen the spine, taking it open into your airplane. And then into that counter stretch, reaching it up and through. Okay. So we're going to bring it then into the inner thighs a little bit more. So from there, you can just straighten one leg out and we're going to leave the other leg in. So if you prefer to be on blocks for this one again, you still can do. And the width of your legs is completely what your body tells you you can do. But the wider, the stronger the stretch is going to be in that straight leg. So we're going to play with this a little bit, okay? So you're nice and tall through the spine. We're going to take it into rotation. So opposite hand to the knee, other hand behind. And you're using your hands to kind of help pull you behind. But what I want you to do with the leg that's straight, allow it to roll a little. So almost like it's coming right through. So it's rotating through the leg, it's rotating that hip forward. So it just helps you get a little bit more rotation. And then back out. So you're coming into that knee pointing up to the ceiling again. So we're going to take another 4 of those. So you're rolling it through. So this is going to get all the way up into some of those smaller muscles in there to open them out if we can. And then back through. So you can decide how far you can go with that movement. So opening and then back through. Opening and through. If the leg needs to bend a little, it can. If it doesn't want to go purely straight, it can. Okay. So it's trying to see just can you get it moving through that internal and external rotation. So once we've done 5 in through there, we're then going to aim towards the straight leg. So we're going to slide down and we're going to make this active again. So as we reach into that position, the top arm can come up and over and it can come in behind the head as an add-on. So once we feel like we've reached that end range, then we're going to come back up. And as we come up from this one, okay, now if you're on blocks, just make sure you're going to be able to get that hand flat onto the floor. You're going to sweep it up and press up through the knee, okay? So you're reaching up to open up the front of that hip again, okay? And then you're back down, setting the hips back down. And we're going to slide towards that straight leg, arm up and over in behind the head. And then again, as we come back to the floor, and you can take that hand out a little bit further away, so it makes you kind of reach and move your body weight to it. And again, lifting up, pressing that hip forwards and open. And then back down, one more. So reach it down, up and over, maybe hand in behind the head. And then slowly, and again, reach it up. So that bent leg is doing a little bit more of the work to open up the front of that hip. And then slowly back down. That's better. Okay, so you can bring your legs in, take that little loosener in between. Okay, so we're going to switch the legs over then. So you're bringing the other leg out straight, another leg drawn in towards you, finding that range. Okay, so we're going to take it into that rotation first of all. So opposite hand towards the bent knee and just taking that twist initially, just allowing the ribs to turn. The hands can bring in a little bit of work pulling on the floor to help the ribs rotate. And then slowly from there, coming back and in. So this time then, as we take that twist, we're going to be using that rotation of that leg to turn it in, okay? So you can keep the hands in that twist and then just rolling and through and back again. So rolling it and through, that little squeeze and through. So again, if it needs to bend at the knee, you can take it bent. And you can play with it either version, trying to get that thigh rotating, external rotation to internal rotation. So we're taking 5 of those. So as far through as you can get that hip turning, almost like you're going to turn into pigeon and then back into seated. Okay, so then once we're done on that, then we're going to take it into a little bit of that deeper movement, okay? So again, as we're taking it into that rotation and then feeding it back down, so choose your range as you work it through, okay? So we're going to take the twist first of all, so whenever you're ready, starting to move into that rotation, okay? And then coming back through to the straight leg, reaching it up and over, bringing the hand in bent, and then lifting it nice and long, and again taking that rotation and through and into that stretch and long, and again up and through, bringing that rotation and back and through. Okay, so we're bringing the legs back out from there and then take those little rocks either way. Okay, so while we've got you in seated, we're going to do a combination. We're going to do that funky one where we bring you into that internal rotation, okay? So you can have the legs bent, so around about maybe 90 degrees or so, in line, hips in line with knees, in line with feet, but then start to walk the feet outwards. And as you walk the feet outwards, you're trying to encourage the knees to drop to the inside. So don't go to a point where you feel pain in the knees, go short of that, but you're trying to encourage both knees to rest to the inside. And you can decide whether you're a little bit more lifted and through the chest or relaxed. The more lifted you are, the deeper it folds you at the hips, so it may increase that sensation a bit. It may feel like a stretch somewhere all the way down the side, however far that you're able to get. You might notice a difference from one side to the other. Okay, so making sure that the heels are somewhere level with the knees. So if you've got that kind of right angle, you're somewhere level, ankles and knees. If they're too far in front, then you'll maybe not get the same sensation. Okay. And then slowly. So it's playing with it. So sometimes it's knees closer together, sometimes it's knees further apart. And for most people it would be about a right angle. Sometimes going in front it puts more twist onto the knees, whereas the right angle is roughly about a midpoint, so it can be a little bit better and you can keep the feet flexed, so there's less rotation on the lower legs, but it can sometimes still just give a bit of a sensation in around the knees. So if it doesn't feel good, then this isn't one you push, you just take it short of any pain sensations. Okay. Well, that's where the stretch is coming in. so yeah, so you have to find a level that it feels like it's good to go to, as opposed to going too strong, because the deeper you go into it, the more it's going to put that stretch in through there. And that's where
that's a better stretch whenever you have your knee and your ankle level, rather than forward.
Yeah, because if it goes forward, it's an awful lot of rotation in through there. So it maybe just isn't as much of a stretch. So okay, so draw it out from there, bring the legs in front and just give them a little roll through the kneecaps. Okay, so from there we're going to bring you to lie down, and we're going to take a shoulder bridge after that to kind of realign everything after we've done those twists and turns. Okay, so the heels underneath the knees, toes just turned out a little, and then that slow roll of the spine, rolling it up, finding length, reaching through the knees, and then that slow roll of the spine back down again. And use your glutes on this essentially. As you're rolling up, squeeze the glutes and lengthen. And on the way down, core muscles are pulling in to help lengthen you, but at a point then the glutes will switch off. And if you want to go into a bit of an arch, if that feels good at the bottom, so you can take that opposite, but just know then you're going through your tilts to then bring it back up again. So again, then slowly, last one through there. And we're going to bring it into a hamstring stretch. So we're going to bring that leg up nice and long. So I want you to reach it up through the heel if you can, keeping the sense of the pelvis being connected to the floor. So you're not scooping off and rounding, but maybe even not dropping the tailbone a little bit heavier. And as you're holding that position, just allow maybe a little movement. So you could rotate the thigh inwards or outwards, or maybe just keep it centered. So just to see, does it change the stretch? Does it feel like it's a little bit stronger in the stretch if you turn it one way versus the other? To see, does one of those positions feel a little bit better for you? And then slowly relax the leg down, change it over to the other side, and again find that reach, that lengthened position. Just settling in, finding lengthen through the tailbone so you feel both sides of the waist are nice and long. So you're folding at the hip. And then from there, again, that's sense of turning the thigh inwards or turning it outwards. Does that feel like it's a better stretch or not? Either way, or staying centered. And then recentering and drawing the leg back down. So we're going to bring it into a shoulder stretch. So we're going to bring you on to your tummy. And we're going to take that stretch where our arm is reached out to the side so that you're not higher than shoulder height, you're level with them or slightly below, palm down. You're going to use the other hand like this to push you onto your side. And as it pushes you onto your side, you're trying to stack the hips and relax the head. So if that feels like it's not enough of a stretching through the shoulder, then you can shuffle the hips a little bit further in front of the shoulder. So your body's lying on a bit of diagonal. So you can decide how far you need to go with that position to bring that opening at the front of that shoulder. And again, as you hold in that position, use that hand, keep pressing into the floor so it helps keep you stacked. And then you can decide if it feels like it's not a stretch into the hips, and go forwards. Just taking a few breaths into there to relax the shoulders, just to find the body a way just to let go and relax there. And whenever it does, you're going to release onto the tummy and then change sides. So again, the arm no higher than shoulder height. And as you bring the body into position, stacking the hips, you need to bring the hips forward to get that sensation of the stretch at the front of the chest and the shoulder, so that hopefully you can feel that opening at the chest, relaxing the body in and around it. And taking one more breath. And as you breathe out, then allowing the body to relax onto the tummy. And we're going to take it then, just coming up onto all fours. And once you're there, maybe again with the knees together, apart, whatever you prefer in your child's pose. And maybe just a little bit of rocking about in there. Just letting the hips wiggle side to side, letting the ribs turn, a little bit of rotation, just letting the body kind of move in. Imagine you're opening up lots of cobwebs in around everywhere. And once you find that depth, take a deep breath in. And then as you breathe out, sink the body. And then walk the hands back. So we're going to bring it into a bit of a forearm stretch. Sometimes we don't do down the arms, but we're going to add them in for this one. So bring yourself into a comfortable seat, wherever that is for you. Cross-legged, butterfly, sitting on blocks, and in hero position. So if you want to raise it up so you can find where it feels comfortable for you. Okay, so once you're there, okay, bring your hands into prayer position. And all we're going to do is put a little bit of pressure connecting the hands together, pressing the heels of the hands more so together, and then drop the heels of the hands down. And as you drop them down there, you will notice that the heels of the hands may come apart, but you can decide where you go to feel the stretch in the undersides there of the forearms. Maybe it's stretching in through part of the palms of the hands as well. The shoulders, trying to keep them down your back. You may certainly feel a bit of a squeeze in through there as you're pressing the hands in together. And then from there, we're going to turn the fingers under. And as we turn them under, again, you might feel a bit of a stretch there, but if you need to deepen it, you're actually going to pull the heels of the hands up the front of the chest, but still keep those shoulders down. Still pressing them together. And then slowly releasing and just giving them a little bit of a shake out. If you are sitting cross-legged, switch it over. If you're not, you can stay where you are. So from there, then we'll just take a few movements in through neck and shoulders, so rolling the shoulders and letting them drop, letting the arms go nice and loose, whether they're hanging by your sides, whether they're resting on the legs or in your lap, wherever they want to rest, so they're not part of the problem of stretching. So you're going to draw your chin to your chest, and I want you to keep that sense of tucking your chin in and then drawing the chin down. So that should feel like it draws a little bit more of a stretch in, hopefully, and then release. So we're going to do 4 more of those. So tuck the chin in and then draw the chin down and then release. Don't like doing this one as a hold, because when you tuck the chin in, it can cut off the windpipe a little. So you're tucking it in, drawing the chin down. And 2 more, drawing in and down. You may feel that pulling down the back depending how tight you're feeling. Last one, draw it in, lengthen down, and release. And then we're going to take it into the opposite, but we're going to use the hands to assist. So depending on whether it's gross you out or not, you're going to take a hold with your fingers and thumbs around the throat. And I want you, it's just the skin that you're pressing on. So you're almost going to just try to pull the skin down. So start with your chin down. You're just taking the fingers and thumbs of both hands and you're pressing down lightly on the skin, pulling it down the neck. And then you're going to keep the mouth closed, but you're going to lift your chin up to the ceiling. So that's going to pull against the skin. So you might feel like you have to adjust, and you can set the chin down each time, readjust where the fingers are pressing on the skin, so that it feels like you're getting a stretch at the front of the throat. Might not be center line, but it's on either side of your voice box. You can hear. I'm stretching mine. It just means to stretch the front of the neck. You're not going into as deep an extension for the back of the neck. So if you feel like you've been able to get a little bit of an opener in through there, then you can release and allow the head to center. So just take a little rotation to the right, a little rotation to the left, and 1 more each way. Relaxing the shoulders again, and then finding your way back into center. So I'm hoping that we've covered quite a few areas of the body. Hopefully that has been, it's an active stretch. It's hopefully left you feeling a bit more open, not completely ready for bed, but yeah, a bit of a stretch in through there on all ways. So I hope you did enjoy this video, and if you did, leave us a like. It's really helpful for growing the channel to appeal to more people, so that they hopefully will do some more movements as well. So leave us a like and a comment. Let us know if you would like any other videos of what we can touch on for you, what we can help you with, and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, I hope you feel good after that, and thank you for joining me.